Welcome back to the Maven Show. This is your host Rohit. Today we have Christy, Chief Partnership Officer and Website Engagement Expert. Thank you, Christy, for getting into the show.
Hey, I'm glad to be here, and I think we've got an exciting question that we're going to answer.
Amazing, we will be talking about everything in the website conversions, clicks, click-through rate, ROI, increase in sales, and so on. So, firstly, would you like to just give a quick intro and background of yours, how you got started, how you specialized in this, and how long it takes you to get to this?
Well, I'm one of the fewer, quote, older generation of the web experts out there. I actually started my business in 2001. And it grew a little bit slowly for a few years, but we have grown into a full digital agency. We are a high touch digital agency. And what that means is we put the customer care and communication first. A lot of digital agencies, they take the transaction and then you feel like you're just in an echo chamber, working with somebody. But we keep just our customer, we like to put on white gloves when we take care of our customers. Located in Southern Oregon, so about 6 hours north of San Francisco and about 4 hours south of Portland, Oregon, for kind of two large places on the map for people that may know. And we just provide comprehensive marketing services. So of course that is, all things websites, hosting, ongoing maintenance, SEO, marketing services. We're basically here to take all of the geek and we unpack that geek for our clients. So empowering our clients is an important element, but our thing is we'll take care of you online so that you can do the things that you're passionate about, which is running your business.
Got it. Cool. So you are all specialized in SEO, website conversions, and getting things done to get the ball rolling for any business. That's it.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So, so let's just talk about if you were about to pick the top three things so that you see killing website engagement, what would that be?
That's a big question. And actually, the answer to that, I will say, in essence, covers an entire website concept, but we're going to the top three that we're going to dive into are not necessarily highly technical, but it's something that anybody can take to their website. So here's the problem that people are actually dealing with. In order to answer that, we really need to identify, so what is the problem that we have? And the problem is that most websites don't follow the 5-second rule. Now, it takes people half a second to figure out and make an opinion about your website. Do they like it? Do they not? It takes about 7 seconds for people to actually decide if they're going to stay or go. And most people have a 6 to 8 second attention span, which means in me explaining that, most people have had their brains go 10 different directions and come back. And so if you don't get the attention of the person coming to your website, I'm going to say within 5 seconds, because at 6 to 8 seconds, they're going to you're losing their attention span, then you have a much higher chance of completely losing them.
The problem is need to solve the attention span.
So the solution is, I don't know that we can solve attention spans, but what we need to do is we need to, if I could say, grab the person coming to the website and then drawing them in and engaging them.
Got it.
Okay, so that's the actual solution that we need to do. And there are three main things that you can do on your homepage in order to help change that. Now, a lot of websites today still have the sliders, the big pictures. And if you sit and watch, there might be 5, 7, 8, 10 pictures. But here's the secret: nobody watches those. And so all of the effort that people put into that, all of the slow down time that is caused for all of those to load, it's basically just a waste of real estate, because people just are blind to what's on sliders. They see movement and they're gone. And so it's much better to, use that real estate, because when we had newspapers, we called it above the fold because that was the top half of the newspaper that you could see without even, you could glance at it walking out of the store. So above the fold on a website means so many different things because you go from mobile phone to tablet to, you know, computer screen, and then what size of computer screens do people have? And so really above the fold is that top section, very top section of your website. And it's important there, use an attractive image that is somehow related to what you do. You know, so that as people are looking at it, a picture does speak 1,000 words. And then over that, you want to be able to, excuse me, outline, what do you do? The second thing is, what problem do you solve for people? And I'll explain the importance of that here in a little bit. And then the third thing is, how can they get started? Now, this isn't 3 big paragraphs. It's short, not even full sentences. I'm going to say some headlines. You know, what do you do? What problem do you solve for people? So it's not even what do you sell, but what problem are you actually solving? Because people don't care about what you sell. They're there with a problem. And then what is the number one step they need to do in order to get started? And if you put that right at the top, that's what people will see in that first 3 to 5 seconds that they're on the website. And if you grab their attention there and then take them through the journey they need to go, you've engaged them.
Got it.
So that's kind of a strong element right there. The second thing, and I see this probably, I want to say on close to 90% of websites that I look at or more, is most of the call to action buttons that you see say learn more.
Yeah.
Learn more. Learn more about what? You know, what am I, because you have to think people aren't paying attention.
Yeah.
So even if you've told them blah, 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 and then you just have learn more, they have no idea what they're learning more about. And so making the buttons very clear, what's going to happen when they click that button. If you want people, and I see some that say, call me. Now that works if you have it connected, so they click it, and if you're on a mobile phone, it dials your phone number for a phone call.
Got it.
But otherwise, if it takes you to another page, maybe the contact page, when they click that button, they can't call you. You know, so making sure that you're, you know, schedule an audit, schedule an exploration, learn more about whatever it is, you know, that you're doing. So don't just use learn more, customize it so that it's clear. People click the button, this is going to happen.
Got it.
And the third element is speaking to your market, your target market. We'll talk a bit about target market in a minute. But when you stop and think about how many websites you go to, and I call it corporate speak. You know, you see language that says, welcome to our website. We've been in business for blah, 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 blah years. We're the best. We've gotten this award, you know, and maybe you sell shoes and all you want to do is buy a pair of shoes. You could care less that the company has been in business for so many years. You could care less that the company thinks they're great. You're there to buy shoes. And so skipping the corporate speak, you know, there's a place in the entire process for people to understand your expertise. But putting it front and center like most people do on their websites doesn't work. The other thing that I call corporate speak, and there may be a place in certain situations, is when people use third-party language. So they refer to their customers as our customers and to themselves as our business. Now, if we were talking together about your business, if you were coming to me for web services, I wouldn't have a conversation like that. You know, I wouldn't refer to you as our site visitors or our clients. It would be you. You know, I wouldn't be referring to my business as a third party. I would be saying, you know, me and we, since I've got a team. So making sure, and again, that's engaging language. When you speak first person, just by itself, it's like you're having a conversation with somebody.
Got it.
And your website needs to be that conversation that eventually, the start of the conversation that eventually will be in person, whether it's, you know, on Zoom or by phone, or you actually have having somebody come in to your office. That's where your website needs to actually start.
So you would like to tell like what the solution is? So how can we accomplish this?
This is the part I love. I actually absolutely love, because there are so many different elements out there today
Mhm.
that are so simple for people to follow. I don't know if you're familiar with Simon Sinek's TED Talk, Start With Why,
I do.
if you've watched that one.
Yeah, I did.
Okay. Um, and we'll have the link in the show notes. But what he points out is absolutely key, because when you stop and think about it, the outside of the circle, and the concept, for those of you that aren't familiar, is you've got a circle, a target, and the outside is what, and the what is what everybody else does. It's the actual final deliverable. You know, for me, all web developers build websites. You know, that's the what. The how is the technical matter. It's the inner layer. It's important, but most customers don't really care on the how.
Yep.
The why is that inner core passion. You know, what makes you tick? It's your unique value proposition. It's what sets you apart from other competitors. It's what sets, you know, Apple or Starbucks or Nike. You think of some of the big names out there. Why are they set apart? It's because they are laser focused on their why.
Yeah.
There's other elements, but that's a big element of that. And so taking the time to really understand, what is your core passion? What makes you unique? Because that's going to bring into the conversation elements that otherwise you don't have. And the joy of this is when you match it up with your customer's why, because your customer has that same thing. You know, the outside what, those are the things they just need to survive, you know, and they have the how, and then they have these inner elements of, this is what makes them tick, and that's their why.
Mhm.
And when you understand their why,
Yeah.
and you have your why, then all of a sudden you're speaking on an inner level.
Mhm.
And when you take this into the neurological side of things,
Mhm.
the parts of our brain that make decisions, it's the part that handles our emotions. It's not the part that just deals with facts. So if all you're doing as a company is talking about the what, you know, and if you're buying a computer, it's all of the technical specs about a computer
Yeah.
that you can line up across the board, and there's a million computers, maybe not that many, that meet the technical specs that you need. But when you switch over to the side of your brain that is emotionally engaged, that's where you're actually making the decision. And so you're making the decision based on that inner emotional element. And when you take and you combine the start with why concept, and Simon Sinek does this, with the neurological, it is the neurological part of the brain that speaks to the why and the how,
Mhm.
and it's the factual side of the brain that speaks to the what. That's why it's so critical to understand your why and your customer's why, because then you're speaking over here on this neurological element, and all of these facts, they still matter, but not as much, because they're going to understand that you can actually solve their problem. Um, I've kind of mentioned a little bit, you've got to know your target market. You can't understand your target market's why, what are their inner things, if you don't really know them. So that's a super, super important element that is there. Dig in, understand their core need.
Got it.
The last part of this is people love story. You know, stories have been around ever since the very first campfire. And the stories engage that emotional side of our brain.
I think that's the big hit, you know, The story, I think, even though I own this agency, which I just got started 1.5 or 2 years back now, you guys doing amazing. This has a pretty amazing story as well. But the Web3 company, which I will be coming up with next year, it has the brand called Die Hard Friends that has the sweet story behind that. And that is the emotional connectivity which I think will be the only one for all the people around the world. So we will be tapping the international market, we will be tapping the entire global market, and we are going to tap the entire friendships into the global market.
Yeah, and it's critical because the fact that stories draw us in emotionally, there is something that you can create for your business. It's your brand story. And what it does is it positions not you as the hero, but your potential customer.
Yeah.
And your potential customer is the hero of your story. They, of course, have a problem that they're trying to solve. And they meet you, who is the guide. You, who are now the guide, has the plan that if you lay out, this is what you need to do in order to solve your problem. You give them that call to action, and then you paint the picture of this is what success looks like. And by the way, if you don't follow the plan that I gave you, this is what failure looks like.
Yeah.
And if you think about it, those 7 elements are a part of every single good movie, every single good book, and every single good business that has identified that. And all you do, once that's clear, you take these 3 things that we've talked about, your why, your customer's why, and your story, and you put it into the content of your website. Keeping in mind the elements that we had of just that clarity up at the very top of your homepage, skipping the corporate speak, clear call to action buttons. But now you take the rest of this content and you wrap it up into these 3 things, and people are naturally going to be drawn in because they're going to feel like you can solve their problems.
Got it. Great.
That's a long answer to one question. The one thing that I have, because I realize that we covered this fairly quickly, actually, and you can always hit, reset and listen to it again. But I've got a free PDF that I would love to share with your listeners, if that works for you. And all they need to do is just send me an email, and we'll make sure the email's in the show notes. But it's Christy@designbykiltz.com. And then in the subject line, just put in 3 free tips, and I'll email it to them.
Amazing. We will be dropping everything, your info into the notes, into the descriptions for sure. Cool. Do you have anything else, any advice for anyone who is getting into the website development for their business, like getting their website done for the business, even small business, even startup, even mid-size, even improving the website? What tips they should consider in quick short note?
Quick shot, put the things that I've talked about first. And then the second thing is, the one thing we have on our website, and we call them web tips. We have an email newsletter. It goes out twice a month, and we send them out by email. But our goal in reading those tips is that you can read it, learn something, and then take action. So if people just really aren't sure where to start, or they want to get more information on that, they're welcome to go to our website or reach out to me. I am more than happy to I call it booking a 20. If people want to book a 20 and have specific questions they need to ask, but take the time to don't focus on the technical. Don't focus on the technical, because the technical is so broad these days. You can build a good website on any platform, but you can have a pretty looking website, and if you don't include these elements, you're not going to have a website that engages people.
Yeah, for sure. Amazing. Cool. Thanks, Christy. Thanks for being on the show, for sharing these bunch of insights regarding the website and so on. We would love to have you in probably in the next season or so.
Awesome. I enjoyed it.
Awesome. Thanks.